Good morning. Today's day 3, and if you're new here, my name is Viola, and this is Viola Ignites, and I just want to welcome you. This is 28 Sparks to Catch Fire. Every day in February of 2026, you're going to get one truth and one action that will spark you. Our goal here is to get you to close your knowing, doing gap so that you can execute on your plans and your projects and multiply your talents. And right now, since Sunday, the 1st of February, we've been thinking through the parable of the talents. So for the last 3 days, we've just stayed right there in Matthew 25. We've talked about the fact that you have talents. You've been given, you've been loaded and packaged with peculiar and particular gifts that are unique to you. Okay, and then we've talked about the fact that many of us have buried our talents, just like the one talent servant in the story. So today we're talking about why did this guy bury his talent? In Matthew 25 in verse 24 and I think 25, he says, "Master, I knew you to be a hard man, a man that reaped where you didn't sow." I mean, that was an interesting way to talk to your master. "And you gather where you have not scattered seed." So when you gave me my talent, I was afraid. And I went and hid it in the ground. And we talked about that yesterday, the fact that he buried his talent. So that's the reason. That's the reason. He did not multiply his talent. He did not invest his talent because he was afraid. He had an excuse. And actually, I mean, it's a great excuse. Like, it's a very, very, very good story he told himself. It's a great excuse that he gave his master. He didn't say, "I was lazy, and that's why I didn't multiply what you gave me. I didn't invest what you gave me." He didn't say, "I didn't care that you gave me something." He was real. "I was afraid." And I think we get that. I get that because fear feels legitimate. Fear feels like a great reason. I am afraid. I'm afraid to fail. I'm afraid to look like, I don't know, a fraud, an imposter. I'm afraid to look foolish. I'm afraid to start something publicly and then it fails before everyone. I'm afraid that I'm not hearing God clearly. Like I'm not sure this is what I need to be doing. I'm afraid that I will waste what I've been given. So it's just easier to not invest it. It's easier to not multiply it. Fear can be so real. I mean, and it can be overwhelming. I mean, so I understand his excuse. Because in some ways, our fear can justify our inaction. You know, it can justify our inaction. But the master didn't say, "I understand." Let me turn to that verse. The master didn't say, "I get it. I understand that you could have felt fear. I understand that I was asking for profit off of your labor." The master didn't say any of that, okay? He says in verse 26, he says, "You wicked and lazy servant." This is just so poignant. He says, "You wicked and lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown, and I gather where I have not scattered seed. So you should have invested it." He used the same excuse. He says, "You're wicked. You're wicked. You know I'm looking for a profit on this, and you're not giving me one. You're wicked, and you're lazy. Why didn't you invest the talents? Why didn't you grow the talents? Why didn't you multiply the talents?" It feels harsh. I mean, that's just the truth, okay? But I want us to think from the perspective of the master. He seems to be calling fear disobedience, like dressed up in nice clothes. He seems to be addressing fear in a way that we typically don't think about, right? And he doesn't make any room for the excuses, right? So my excuse of like, I'm waiting for clarity, I'm being a good steward, I don't want to move till I'm pretty clear how it's going to work out, I'm thinking through how to do it. I mean, all that stuff, which could sound logical, could sound spiritual, it could even sound wise, it could even sound like faith. The master in the story doesn't buy it. Doesn't buy it. He doesn't buy it. And so even where fear is dressed up with like Christian vocabulary, and it could even sound like faith, I'm waiting for the right time. My bet is that you're listening to me, you're watching this, you already know what you're supposed to be doing. And maybe that's why my voice is resonating with you. Maybe that's why you're still listening to what I'm saying, because inside of you, you know what you know what you should be working on. You know what your gifts are. You know the gifts you've buried. You know where you're not taking action, and your inaction is not as sacred as you're making it. So I know this is hard. It was hard for me to process it, but I think we all need to hear it, because fear is stealing your one life. This life that you have, fear is stealing it, because every day that you let fear win, you're compounding your regret. Every day that you let fear win, you're not putting your talents in the market. You're not giving yourself the option for multiplication. So I'm hoping this is an invitation for courage, not an abstract concept, right? But courage, because courage is going to look like hitting publish when it's not perfect, right? Because you've been editing that post forever, okay? You've been editing that article, that manuscript forever. Courage is it's 95% there, so we're gonna go. We're gonna move. Yeah, we're not gonna be afraid somebody will criticize it. We're not gonna be afraid that it's not picture perfect. We're not going to be afraid that somebody will think that what we think is great work is nothing. We're not going to be afraid. Courage is going to look like starting before you're ready, before your 100-point inspection list is all ticked off. That's what courage is going to look like. You're waiting to feel more confident. You're waiting to have all the answers. You're waiting to know all the steps. You're waiting to know exactly how it will turn out. But that's not how it works. That's not how life works. And you've been around long enough to know. So we're going to be courageous. We're going to be courageous. We're gonna make those offers. We're gonna send those emails. We're gonna talk to potential clients. We're going to develop. We're gonna finish building out that nonprofit. We're gonna launch out. We're gonna launch out. Because courage could also look like you doing it scared. You not waiting for the fear to go away. You not waiting to feel brave and revved up, but just acknowledging that yes, the reason I'm not functioning at a quarter of my capacity is because I'm terrified. I'm scared. And moving anyway. Because courage is a muscle. So you're gonna build it by using it. You build it by using it. You build it by using it. So here's what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna ask you to complete this sentence. This is your spark. I have been afraid to, because, and please be specific. What have you been afraid to do? And why? Be specific, be honest, write it down. And then ask yourself this question: is this fear serving me? Or is it keeping me from my assignment? Is it keeping me from growing my gift? Is it keeping me from multiplying my talent? Is the fear the fence around the hole you dug to bury your talent? Just think about that. And is it worth it? So, what are you going to do today, even though you're afraid? Pick one thing. And I really just invite you to consider execution over intention. I invite you to consider action over your long and well drawn out plans. I invite you to consider multiplication over safety, right? And that's your spark for the day. That's your spark for today. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the deadline you've been ignoring. Still right out of Matthew 25, still right out of this parable of the talents. Same place. Subscribe so you can get notified when I publish this. And I just want to thank you. I've seen so many people subscribe. I want to thank you just for allowing me to speak to you. And I want to say, you know, we're catching fire together. And this year is going to be wildly different from the other ones that we've been. So thank you. See you tomorrow.